Hello MakerBox subscribers, thank you so much and welcome to your August box. If you're in our Maker Club, this is your main project. If you're in the Combo Club, you also got this project as well as the Gotta Have It Club. So I hope that you love it. It is definitely one of my favorite projects that we've offered. And as a sneak peek, if you are maintaining your membership through December, we're gonna have an extra bonus that's gonna coincide with this project. And that's why we're gonna use magnets today. So stay tuned. We'll give a little bit of a reveal at the end of this. Okay, so what's in here? We're gonna open up our box and we have a frame. We have a happy fall stencil with a pumpkin. We have a little baggie and we have a frame with some lines. Now, this is a pretty simple project. It's gonna follow a lot of the tutorial that's right in your written insert card, but I'm gonna guide you through step by step to make sure that it's fun to paint along with somebody too. And give you some tips and tricks on how we painted it. Now there's certainly not only one way to paint this. If you don't like the rustic shabby chic, skip the distressing steps and keep it super crisp. You could also play into the fact of black and orange if you would like as well, and make it a little bit more Halloween or deep fall. I'm gonna go for a little bit more classic look of the gray neutrals, especially because in Florida we tend to be a little bit more coastal, and that's how I love to decorate. But you have a variety of colors, and so mix it up and be sure to post your creations and hashtag PGMMakerBox so we can see, because we'll feature you on our page and we would love to see how your unique spin on these projects turn out. All right, so to get started, we're gonna take one of our yellow sponges. We cut these pretty chunky and I don't like working with a big one. So if you ever feel like you need more, just cut them in half. It makes it a lot easier. Now, I'm gonna get started by actually just painting this entire thing white. So you wanna use a little bit of paint, but you can be generous and really push it into those cracks. To get it into the spaces there, I'm just kind of pushing a little bit more pressure onto my sponge. And the biggest thing with white is to remember that wet paint is gonna stick to dried paint better than it will the board. So you really want to build those layers and kind of be working on something else while it dries, or you're just gonna be pushing wet paint around a board. So you're gonna get on all of your sides. The fun part about frames is they have so many parts. So you got the top, the inside, the bottom, all of the things. And I love using the tissue paper that we include kind of as a spacer. So I have some brown paper underneath me as well, which is usually what we'll pack in some of our larger boxes. So you can use that and reduce, reuse, and recycle. But having this, if I want to work on a different project, it's easy to crinkle up too. So feel free to use the packing material we include to help protect your tables and your spaces. All right, so I got one good layer on here. I'm gonna go ahead and add another layer. And I'm really looking for this to be quite solid. So it's probably going to take a couple layers. Now, you can definitely blow dry in between layers, and that can be really beneficial. I'm actually gonna just take a quick pause, use a baby wipe to clear my hands, and work on the second part of this project while this sets up a little bit. I find by multitasking my projects, I don't spend as much time by the blow dryer, and I can get more done and have more fun without watching paint dry. So I'm gonna put that to the side. I'm gonna work on my happy fall. Now, for my example here, I'm gonna use American Walnut on the base of this because the stencil is actually a reverse stencil. So by putting the background, whatever color I put my background is the color that my happy fall is going to be at the end of this project. So I'm gonna use the brown, and the brown is actually a stain, so it goes on a little bit more watery. So you just wanna keep your sponge moving and try and keep a nice straight motions. I do try and put a good number of pressure down on my sponge so I can really push it into the grain and not let too much puddle on top. So I'm kind of putting a wax on, wax off type mentality As I go on, I just kind of brush it into the rest of the board here. trying to make sure it never puddles. So I have a great layer on there. You really see that grain structure come through on that birch, which is gorgeous. I'm gonna take that baby wipe and wash my hands one more time. I love having wipes nearby because it saves me trips and time. And we're gonna add another layer to our insert sign here. So you might have guessed it as I'm painting this white, that the reason we're gonna use magnets is because you have a fall insert now. If you stay a member with us into December, we're going to, it's not the main project, but if you're a member in our fall box, we're gonna also be sure to give you an insert for you to be able to use for the holidays. So that way it'll make this project last just a little bit longer. So plan for that when you're choosing your colors. In other words, I probably would avoid putting orange on the background, but if you wanted to do an orange pumpkin, I think that would be just fine because that piece is gonna be able to come off. So hint, hint, hint. I don't wanna spoil all the surprises because I love you guys opening your box. If you missed the unboxing promo that's in your box, you can still do it as a quick video of even a time lapse of you making your project or sharing how your projects turned out. And just make sure to hashtag us. We're gonna give away a $50 gift card to somebody for helping us spread the word about our boxes. We also do have a referral program. If you are referring your friends, some of you got a little extra bonus in your box for referring a friend to us, and your friend got that too. So, and we'll always make sure that those coincide with our projects so that it can be nice and fun too. All right, so I have my background nice and white. I'm gonna go ahead and hit it up with a blow dryer to just zap all the moisture out of it, and I'll be right back. All right, upon drying that, you can see it's still just slightly streaky. You can leave it that way, or you can paint another layer. I like a little bit of the rustic look, so I'm gonna let some of that come through almost like a whitewash, but you do how you would like. Now, I love to separate how my frame looks for the inside, so I'm gonna take my brush and do a little bit of dry brush distressing just on my frame portion, and that way it separates how that looks. So I'm gonna dip my brush into the American walnut, unload it on a paper towel or a piece of scrap. And I want it to be fairly unloaded, just so it's not really solid. And then just lightly tickle in big motions all over my frame. Now this inside can be a little tricky. You could use painter's tape if you're nervous, but I just try not to get too close to the edge. You're not really gonna see it unless you're right up on it. So you can see I'm just kind of dry brush distressing into that corner. Dip again. And a lot of times when we do frames, we actually have them pre-taped so you can do two very different colors. In this situation, because it's a rustic sign, I love to kind of put a base color and then have another color shine through with the distressing. But by all means, feel free to use painter's tape if you desire to. And the other advantage as well is when we put our stencil on, you'll see it gives you a really nice tight finish to the board. So if you're wanting to create a different color for your frame and you don't like this more rustic look, put your stencil on your board and then do your frame, and it's gonna give you a buffer too. And I'll kind of repoint that out once we get our stencil on here. If you're gonna be putting this on a sofa table or somewhere you're gonna see the back, just go ahead and paint your back as well. I'll give you a little bit more finished look. And you can go as heavy or as light on this as you like. If you get any spots that need blending, just kind of touch them up at the end there. All right, so we have our frame painted, and we're gonna get ready to put on our stencils. Now, this is why I love these. We're just gonna clean our work area real quick. Away you go. I'm gonna wash those hands of mine one more time. And we're gonna get ready to peel. So when you're doing your stencils, I like to kind of scrape, just because it might have got hot in shipping. So just scrape it. You're gonna flip it back over, grab just the white part, and you're gonna peel low and slow. If anything starts coming up, like you can kind of see this blue, just push it back down and kind of create a crease and peel back a little straighter. This stencil is kind of forgiving. Once you get those edges stuck down, you really shouldn't have any more problems with things coming up because there's no other center letters, which is great. Just gonna peel that away. I'm gonna take this, and prior to doing that, you're gonna wanna sand. I'm sorry, I almost forgot. You have a little piece of sandpaper in your packet, or you can use these sanding blocks. Give it a quick sand in both directions. And that's just gonna smooth that paint back down, and it's gonna help prevent bleeds. Then I'm going to take my insert, line it up in there, and just push it down with your fingers. I don't like to scrape this because it can actually splinter some wood. So just kind of scrape it down with your fingers. If you have some stubborn spots, you know, you can use a card if you would like. Fine towards the edges, being this close, it's not a bad idea, but just don't scrape down with the jaws of life. We don't want it to be a permanent best friend, just a partial. So I'm peeling that clear away, making sure that all my blue stays down. I want no blue to come up with me. Okay, and I do want you to check this particular one must be on the seam of 2, so I can kind of still feel a little transfer here. And this I can feel the raw wood. So just make sure you can feel the wood. I actually have one more little piece of transfer that's a split piece. So just always check that you have, they're hard to see, so just make sure you have found all of those pieces. Then I'm gonna do the same thing on my pumpkin here. Remember to always sand. I like to sand in both directions. And if you watch the Sign of the Month tutorial, you could get really feisty on your background. Not much of it's gonna show, but you could add a bunch of creativity there if you'd like. You don't have to stay straight colored. Again, whatever color your background is what color your words are gonna be here. So make sure you're kind of planning that in reverse. This is a little trickier. You're seeing if any of that blue is coming up, I'm pushing back forward and then peeling at a straighter line. I have a little bit of white that stuck down, so I'll just grab it with some tweezers. And this I'm just gonna line up kind of so the humps in the pumpkin line up. Doesn't have to be perfect. Push it down, maybe a very light scrape. You don't need to go crazy with it. And peel the clear back at a straight angle or diagonal, making sure all the blue stays down. If anything starts to come up, you might need to scrape just a little bit more. Push it back forward and peel. All right, so we have most of our project all set. Now we're just gonna get some color on it. To do that part, we're gonna actually use the white sponges, and we're gonna use a dab mentality. So I like to use the flat end of the sponge. For this, I wanna do a very neutral color, so I'm gonna do number 7. Again, whatever you put on the background of this is gonna be able to be used for the next season if you stay a subscriber with us for our Christmas box or holiday box. So make sure you stay neutral if you are wanting to do that. So maybe avoid the oranges, but your blacks would work. You're not gonna wanna stain with the You're not gonna wanna stencil with the stain because it's a little too watery. So don't do the brown unless you happen to have some number 6 brown paint. So I would stay with either doing the black or the gray if you wanna stay neutral. So I'm gonna do number 7 because it's a really nice neutral color. I'm always gonna load, scrape, unload on a paper towel, and then just hop, hop, hop. Knowing that your first layer is really going to be more of a primer, so don't focus on it too much. I always say be like Elsa, let it go, let it go. You're just getting a first layer on there. If you feel like it's hard to not go on top of yours, you can even use some of your transfer to block yourself off from going onto your frame. And you can see I probably did that on this side. But don't ever freak out. You can always come back with a brush and just add some more distressing as well. So the beautiful thing is it's paint and you can touch it up. It's not a big stressor. So I'm getting my first layer on here. Making sure that it's not globby. You never want it to be shiny when it's touching your board. So I'm continuing to dip, scrape, unload. That it's popping up just a little bit, so I'm just gonna push it back down. And hop, 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 hop. All right, I have a great layer on that, so I'm gonna let it kind of rest for a minute, and I'm gonna work on my Happy Fall. For this, I personally love to do it with white, but you could again do with number 7. I think if you do a stained background and number 14, the orange color, it's really not gonna show up too much. But if you like the yellowish orange, you could do that. You could blend those two. You can mix a little bit of white into your orange. You could do black. So you got a lot of possibilities there. I'm gonna do white just to stay by the example. Load, scrape, unload, and hop, 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 hop. Because we are painting a light color on a darker background, it's gonna take just a couple layers. Unless you wanna go for more of the chalkboard rustic look, you could totally get away with just a light layer as well, and it's gonna look almost whitewashy. You just wanna make sure to blend your sponge marks so it doesn't look like sponge marks. Dip, scrape, unload, hop, hop, hop. I find this part to be really soothing. I love to paint while I'm watching a show. It's a little bit of me time. Gets my hands moving. I guess it's kind of like knitting or crocheting. My mom used to always knit when she watched TV, and I guess I just prefer a little bit messier of activity. But we truly put a ton of thought into these Maker Box kits. We love curating them so they're gonna be cohesive in your home, and it's something that you can put your own unique spin on and have decor that can truly be passed down throughout generations, because one day you will be the one passing things down to your grandkids or other family members or close loved ones. And I know the crocheted trees and the handmade doilies that I have of my great grandma, they mean the world to me. So I think handcrafting is always a great thing. It brings you closer to your inner creative spirit, and there's too much in the world that's just black and white of gotta do this, gotta do that, checklist, 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 and this lets the mind kind of breathe and have a little bit of freedom. But we truly do love to see your creation, so please, please, please take a picture in your space and share it with us. There's nothing that makes me happier than to see what you guys have done with these. So I'm gonna choose to leave this one a little bit rustic. I don't wanna do a super, super bold white on it because I like the rusticness of that. So I'm gonna leave that to the side, make sure I like it as it dries. And I'm gonna add 1 or 2 more layers on this depending on how my paint takes. Looks like that second layer is gonna be just about perfect. If you've painted with other tutorials with us before and you want a little bit more gentle of a look, feel free to use the baby wipe method on this as well. All you would do is use a baby wipe instead of a sponge and dip the paint in it and just kind of lightly streak it over these lines, and it's gonna give a lot more of a wash look, almost watercolory, than a solid look. So just play with it, see what kind of look you're going for. You don't even have to use the lines. If you just want a solid background, you could do that. Or if you like the buffalo plaid look, you could get some painter's tape and follow some of our past tutorials on the buffalo plaid as well. I'm gonna try to get right up into those edges, knowing full well I'm probably getting a little bit of paint on my frame. So if you are concerned about that, a little painter's tape goes a long way. If you don't care and you just want to do touch-ups like I don't mind doing, just get in there. All right. So I like the way that looks, so I'm just going to take a pair of tweezers. If you don't have tweezers at home, a safety pin works, a straight pin, anything that you can just kind of use to get a start. And you're just going to peel this blue right off. And this is why we don't want to push the stencil into there too much, because then it gets too much adhesion to that board and it can cause splintering. Wood is still a natural product, so we have to love it through its quirks. All that stencil material you're peeling is just trash at this point, unless you are super creative in reusing. Now you can see I did go over just a little bit on some of my edges, which is not a problem. I put my brown really far away. I'm just gonna add a little bit of extra brown in there. Repeat that step. Again, if you're concerned, add a little bit of painter's tape and you'll be just fine. All right, so I have my neutral background, okay? The last step to this is super easy. We're gonna peel off our pumpkin. And I'm using my tweezers or straight pin to peel off my words of my fall. Happy fall. And then I want to take that little insert, slipping between my scissors, and open it up, the little packet. And you should have 4 really heavy duty magnets in there and a piece of twine. Or not twine, gingham ribbon. All I'm gonna do is take that and tie it around my pumpkin in a bow. Just kind of straighten out your bow. I always try and kind of rotate so my ribbons come down, and you can add a touch of super glue if you'd like. But we have our happy fall. And then I'm just gonna grab some super glue. So if you're gonna be a MakerBox subscriber with us, I highly recommend grabbing your favorite super glue. I really like this Stick Fast Thick. I'll put the link on the page so you can grab some if you'd like. And I'm gonna take this and I wanna space them out in the center of my pumpkin. So I'm gonna take the glue, and I have about a hand's width apart, because we really wanted to offer a lot of stability to this. I'm just gonna give that a second to dry. And while I'm giving that a second, just a reminder that your MakerBox subscription will auto bill on the 10th of the month. Then it takes us about 2 to 3 weeks to prepare and source all of our materials from our vendors. And we will get them out no later than the 15th of the following month, but we always try for sooner. So like this month we got them out September 1st, and we'll continue to try that so you have the maximum amount of time to make your project for the holiday season that might be coming up. So the next billing cycle will be on the 10th of October, and then it will ship by November 15th, and it'll be the holiday box. Especially with that one, we understand the holidays get super busy, so we're doing all we can to get it out as soon as possible. Just please keep in mind, we are still a small business. We have about 5 amazing staff that we hand create all of this, cut it on our laser, and get all the stencils and materials prepared. So it just takes a little bit of time, but we promise it's with love and adornment. So, all right, so it looks like this is dry. So I'm gonna make sure to put my magnets on here first, because you don't want that polarization, that would be bad. So I'm putting my magnets on my pumpkin, adding a touch of super glue on these magnets. And then I'm gonna come to my sign and place it where I would like. Now, especially if you're using super glue, you don't have a lot of room for forgiveness, so set it down, get it wobbled where you like it, and then we're gonna let it sit for a hot minute. And then we'll have a sign that's super glued, and we can magnet those on and off. And stay tuned for your holiday box, because there will be a piece that will go on here as well that we hope you love and gives you more flexibility for your MakerBox project. Thank you so much for joining me. Gotta Have It members and Combo Club members, don't forget to also watch the Sign of the Month Club tutorial so you can know how to make those adorable standing pumpkins. And then our Gotta Have It members, you have a special banner in a beautiful burlap bag that conveniently enough stores almost all of the project's inserts that you need. And so it's just a little extra bonus for you, and we'll do a tutorial on how to paint that as well. Thank you so much. We appreciate you supporting our business, and we hope that you had an amazing time making. Don't forget, share your creations, #PGMMakerBox on Facebook and Instagram, or join our Facebook group and share them there. We can't wait to see what you created and your unique spins on this project. Have a great day. Bye now.